The Olympics have yielded some of the most memorable photographs ever taken. Each one represents the culmination of a dream, capturing the precise moment of triumph or failure. Behind every photo is a story of years of dedication in pursuit of Olympic gold. 3 such photos reflect the dreams of these Olympic legends, who reveal the story behind each iconic picture. The tears of Michael Johnson.
That was my first individual gold medal. It's a very special moment.
The embrace of Chris Boardman.
But I was still really in a state of shock.
And the agony of Bjorn Dali.
This is maybe the biggest fight I've ever participated in, and a fight I will never forget.
Atlanta 1996. A cauldron of heat and expectation. The biggest draw of all was Michael Johnson, aiming to be the first man to take gold in the 200 and 400 meters. But Englishman Roger Black wanted to end his career with an Olympic triumph. This photo captures the joy and relief of the two men at the moment it all came together.
It was an incredible opportunity, a U.S.-based games in Atlanta. I had already announced that I was going to attempt to make history in Atlanta during the games, and so there was obviously a tremendous amount of pressure.
You know, having an Olympic medal is very different to being a world champion. It's just bigger. It just means more, and it translates around the whole world. It's a truly global brand. So I always, I won medals everywhere, but the one I really wanted was the Olympic medal.
But Johnson was a formidable obstacle to any runner seeking glory.
I was faster, I was fitter, and mentally I was better prepared than ever before. So when I went into the Atlanta Games, I knew that I could beat anybody in the world with the exception of Michael Johnson. I had no reference that told me I could beat Michael Johnson. He was in a different league.
I was confident based on the fact that at that point I had, for the previous 6 years, been ranked #1 in the world at 200 meters and 400 meters.
But despite Johnson's ranking, an individual Olympic gold had eluded him.
I always knew during my professional career that I could, but it had escaped me in '92.
Food poisoning put paid to his hopes in Barcelona 4 years earlier. The prospect of leaving Atlanta with anything other than gold was equally unpalatable. The shoes said it all.
It's always going to be a huge risk to go in and say, hey, I'm going to make history, and I don't think there was any doubt in many people's mind that I could do it, but there was doubt that, I would actually do it.
Roger Black was equally motivated.
I'd been around a long time, I'd had a lot of injuries, and Atlanta was my last chance, and I was aware of that. And that whole year leading up to Atlanta was the only time in my career when I really have been on my game.
So the 400 meters presented a mouth-watering prospect for the 85,000 sun-baked fans.
I mean, it was amazing because the first time I walked out into the stadium for the first round, the stadium was absolutely packed. There was just a buzz and an energy in the stadium.
Both men comfortably won their respective heats and semi-finals.
I was gaining confidence with every round that I was going to be able to go in there and not only win, but even break the world record in the 400 meters.
On paper, I was not, on paper, the fastest guy after Michael Johnson, but I knew I was the best competitor after Michael Johnson. I knew that. The greatest compliment I ever got paid was actually from Michael Johnson, which was, I never beat him, but he always said, every time I raced you, I knew I had to race, and I couldn't say that about other people.
Now they would finally meet in the biggest race of their lives.
And the Olympic final is like no other race, no doubt about it, because the prize is so great. It's so great. And if you get it wrong, you've got to wait 4 years, and I didn't have 4 years.
Everything has to happen on the day. Everything has to happen right. You have to be absolutely ready. Everybody wants it, only one person can get it. I got a good start. You know, you want to get up to race speed as quickly as possible in the 400 meters, and I got up to speed at about 50 meters.
I would come out the blocks, and at about 50, 60 meters, I would pretty much switch off and then just cruise down the back straight.
I was doing everything exactly as I had planned it. Everything felt easy, everything felt smooth.
And then you come out with that final 100 meters, which is right in front of you. Michael had gone, and there was no one ahead of me.
I knew at that point that, you know, I was going to win the race, so I'm really, really focused at this point on the world record.
My face coming for the last 50 meters was of somebody who desperately wanted that Olympic medal, and I put everything I could into it.
And my first thought after I crossed the finish line was, you know, literally, I've won a gold medal.
A part of me was thinking, you know, I'm nearly there, and that was when the face goes, and then you're looking at the line, and then you're just desperate for that line to come.
And then almost as quickly right over to the clock to see what the time was, and it was just short of the world record.
And it was tight, and it was close, and it was tough. And I'd run so many races in the past where, you know, someone had come through at the end or hadn't quite done it, and then you cross it, and yeah, you know, you sort of realise you got the second.
Roger and I had always, you know, gotten along really well. I always liked Roger, I always had great respect for him. And so I turned around and I saw him, and I could tell by the smile on his face that he had gotten silver, and he was really happy. And so I went over and shook his hand.
So yeah, it wasn't a cool, relaxed run, put it that way, but I got there. And that's it, done, career over. I can get on with my life now. And the biggest emotion for me was one of relief.
At that point, what I remember was Roger telling me to enjoy the moment. And I think I said something to him about not breaking a world record and saying, you know, I think I know where I lost it or something. And he was, I think he just sensed that, you know, man, you just want a gold medal.
Michael Johnson.
This was his first Olympic gold medal. And when we stood up onto the rostrum, I turned to Michael and said, yeah, savour this moment, because this is what it's all about.
Which was really, it was really helpful for me, because that was my first individual gold medal. It's a very special moment.
Those emotions came out physically with Michael because he started crying. I'm not sure if Michael cried at any other point on the Olympic rostrum for the rest of his career, and he was on there many times.
I mean, it's just that kind of moment when you see that flag go up, you know, I don't care who you are, you know, and when you can't help but reflect back on that moment.
I think if you see in the picture, you know, you've got the picture of Michael's tear, but you've also got the picture of me totally fulfilled and proud and feeling complete as an athlete. And to have that feeling on the Olympic rostrum is exactly where you want to have it, and that's the Olympics.
The 1992 Barcelona Games captured the imagination of the world. In the velodrome, 21-year-old Chris Boardman stunned the cycling world by winning gold in the 4-kilometre pursuit. This photo captures a dream coming true for Chris and his wife, Sally. For an unemployed carpenter from the northwest of England, an Olympic gold medal was an intangible prospect.
I think because of my background, I think it's fair to say a humble background, and I'd seen the Olympic Games, of course, on televisions, and this is something that other people did. So it was very difficult to relate what was happening in my life to being the same as that, to what I was seeing on a television set.
But Chris was in Barcelona because of his prodigious talent. He sailed through the heats, breaking the world record twice on the way. Dave Cannon, who took the photo, recalls the weight of expectation on Boardman's shoulders.
Gold medals for Great Britain were really rare. Well, they still are rare, but I remember it's obviously early days of the Olympics there, so we hadn't had Linford's gold, for instance, at that stage.
So there was 62 million people going to watch this event live, and that was quite a burden for an unemployed carpenter to take on.
Unlike some prominent sports stars, Chris had no entourage. Even his wife had no plans to be in Barcelona.
I wasn't very well. I'd had the flu, so I was in bed and the two kids were at home, and yeah, we watched it on TV. And as soon as the first performance, which I think he'd broken a world record in the first heat, the phone started going. And every time I answered it, they'd say, "What are you doing at home?"
The only flight that she could get out there was a business class ticket.
I think it was about £450.
So, yeah, she wiped us out. I've forgiven her now, though.
Sally managed to get a ticket for the final. Photographer Dave Cannon was also there.
It doesn't matter whether you like the sport or not. I think the atmosphere of just turning up for a finals evening in the Olympics is a great thrill. So the crowd are always pumped up.
Chris was ready to do battle with German rival Jens Lehmann, who was still smarting from losing his world record to Boardman in the first round.
Jens Lehmann I'd seen for, well, he'd been around a long time, probably the previous 10 years. His name was there and at the forefront of world pursuiting. He'd been world champion, he'd been in multiple finals. So he was a big name in the game.
So Chris, even though he'd shown unbeatable form, was anxious about his prospects in the final.
I never really believed that I was going to win the race. It didn't stop me trying to be as good as I can be and just go out there and do the best that I could. But I never really believed that I was going to win because that happened to other people.
I was feeling quite nervous because that's probably one of the reasons I don't tend to go to the races, is because it is quite nerve-wracking.
The way I dealt with it was just to not try and win an Olympic gold medal. I thought, right, I'm just going to be as good as I can be, and then when I've crossed the line, I'll look at the board and see what it got me.
Attention.
And so it proved. After just one lap, Chris had already opened up a lead.
When I was actually starting to nudge ahead after a kilometre, I thought, yeah, this is looking good.
I don't remember anything of the race at all, nothing. I vaguely remember beforehand and vaguely remember afterwards.
I didn't see Sally at all during the race, and I didn't see anybody, didn't see any crowd, didn't see anything. It was just a noise that was in the background, but for me it was just about totally focused on what I was doing.
I can't even imagine how hard it is as a sport. It's pretty hard to photograph because they're quick. You know, it's fast.
I probably watched it through my fingers, really, because it was just, anything could happen.
There's a constant question going on. How far is it to go? How hard am I trying? Is this sustainable? And the answer should be maybe. Because if the answer is yes, you're not trying hard enough, and if the answer is no, it's too late, you've already overcooked it.
Boardman had Lehmann in his sights.
I think a lot of people, watching from the outside, it looked like a foregone conclusion. Been fastest every round, and then I was catching him in the final, and everybody just thought, oh, it's just done and dusted. But for me, I never believed that this was going to happen. So even when I had the guy in the same straight, I still didn't believe it. And I didn't actually believe it until I'd gone past him and the gun was fired to signal that's the end of the race.
For the first time in Olympic history, the 4,000-meter pursuit final was ended by a capture. The 21-year-old Carpenter instantly became a cycling legend.
I think if there was any emotion present at all at the time, it was just a huge sense of relief that it was over, that it was all over, all this pressure and stress, it was over, and it had gone well.
Just remember trying to concentrate, keep concentrating, because obviously he'd been round a celebratory lap at that stage.
I think somebody pointed out to me where Sally was, and I made my way over there, but I was still really in a state of shock.
And then you see someone, a girl coming out of the crowd, and then you realise how long they embraced for, that you actually realise how much it meant.
It was sort of relief, really, especially on his part, I think, because there's a lot of stress and pressure, and once it was finished, that was all gone.
I have no idea what I said to Sally 20 years ago. I can only vaguely remember parts of the whole thing because it was such a whirlwind, and mostly my memory is photographs of it.
You can pick up something that's really, really meaning something to someone. And I could see with that one that they were, hugging so hard, basically, that a lot of sacrifice had gone into getting to that point. And it's brilliant that it came out as it did. Photographer is a part of catching moments in sport. I look at my job as being able to record split seconds of people's lives.
There wasn't a huge emotional high, and I remember afterwards feeling really cheated by that, because I'd seen people jumping up and down and they're in tears and it looked great, and I thought I'd like a piece of that. But it didn't feel like that for me, it just felt like shock, and if anything it took months and months for that to sink in.
Chris is different to other athletes because I think for him to believe in something he needs proof. So for him to believe that he could win at Olympic Games, he'd need somebody to say, look, this is the proof, you can do it. And once he's got that, then I think he's okay.
This next photo shows the full-on agony of the cross-country skier. Here, in front of 100,000 screaming home fans, Norwegian great Bjørn Dæhlie is beaten to the line by Italian rival Silvio Fauna in the 4x10-kilometer relay. Needless to say, the spectators were stunned.
The strange things about Norwegians is that cross-country skiing is more than a competition. It's something between religion, sport, love. I cannot explain it. We are crazy about cross-country skiing.
Dæhlie's 8 gold medals makes him the most successful Winter Olympian of all time. He's 4th on the overall Olympic gold list. When the Games came to Lillehammer in 1994, the entire country was obsessed. One of the spectators in the photo remembers the atmosphere.
In Lillehammer they went crazy. We were excited and we were thinking that, oh, what will this be like?
The expectations of an entire nation were on the shoulders of Norway's cross-country skiers, Dæhlie in particular.
They like it so much that they can't behave normal, I think. It couldn't be anyone else than him. Must be Bjørn. He must win.
Everyone expected us to win this relay. We have had this tremendous success in the 30, and I was winning the 10 and 15, and then it was the relay. We had the best team, we had the best condition, and we had, of course, the best crowd. The pressure was, of course, tremendous. It was fantastic. It was blue sky, 1 meter of snow, 20 degrees minus, perfect conditions.
Bjørn Dæhlie was selected to ski the final leg of the relay. Though Norway were favourites, they faced some stiff opposition. The main threat came from the Italians, in particular Silvio Fauna.
We knew the Norwegian team was the best. They had won the gold medal in the Albertville Olympics in '92, and this was for sure the team to beat.
100,000 fans lined the course. The excitement was at fever pitch. Local man Ivar Onekray and his daughter Marita are in this family photo.
All people hope the Norwegian will win, but we also was very glad for the other people from other countries.
When we came to this place and we realized that we in fact was in the front line and that we were going to stay there and look at them so close, that was really big.
At the final handover, it was neck and neck between Finland, Italy and Norway.
I looked upon Italy as the strongest competitor. I knew about Silvio Fauner on the last legs. I knew that I was going to meet him. This is going to be a battle between two of us.
The last athlete must surely be fast. Must have certain qualities of speed, but must also be able from a tactical point of view to understand the competition and be able to change strategy all of a sudden.
The Nordic ski god was as strong as ever, holding Fauner off throughout. After 9 kilometers, sprint tactics came to the fore.
I really wanted Silvio Fauner to go in the front and I could stay behind him and slipstreaming as you see him biking. But he didn't want to go in front. He's a tactical guy and he knew the game.
So then the most extraordinary thing happened. Dali stopped.
On one of the last climbs, Dali was in front of me. I was following him, and he stopped to try and make me pass. I'd planned for the situation. I'd planned to pass him later, so I stopped as well, and we looked at each other a while.
And then we suddenly stopped, completely stopped in 2-3 seconds.
And he was turning and saying, "Come on, go, you go ahead now."
And then he just passed me.
We started again, slowly, quietly.
And then I tried to stay behind him.
As the two men entered the stadium at the end of the course, Marita Onekray and 30,000 other screaming fans were waiting.
I think we had decided that Björn Dali was going to win. We were just, he's going to win the race.
But Dali had miscalculated.
I had used too much power. I really felt that I had some sort of control, but it was some things in my head who said, "You are a little bit too tired."
Then one of sport's most agonizing moments began. The cross-country ski's sprint finish. It was at this point that the men came into the view of Lisa Kremprud and her husband, who were just meters away from the finishing line.
The photograph reminds me about the atmosphere. You could almost hear the shouting, the music, and smell the bonfire and the sausages and everything.
When I look at the photo, I look back at Lillehammer with all the flags. I didn't actually hear anything. It was so much people, and I saw the finish line, 300 meters, and then I tried to overtake him. And in my head, when I was passing the finish line, I felt, oh yes, I was winning. I was winning the race.
I was thinking that he is going to manage again, because he did so many times before, and he was pressed before also. So I really thought that, oh, he's going to take him at the end.
But Norwegian passion gave way to Italian bravado.
I started to breathe. It was 1 or 2 seconds. I couldn't understand what I saw. I didn't understand it for 2 seconds, because this was things I've been dreaming about, winning over Italy in the relay. That was supposed to happen. And it didn't.
It was a big, like this, oh no, when he didn't win. Well, maybe Italy with Silvio Fauner was more hungry for a medal. Maybe it was too much pressure. And maybe it was because they had taken already so many medals.
I think this competition will remain in cross-country skiing history, because to be able to win in the Olympic Games in Norway against the best team, the Norwegian team.
If I look back, it was of course a disappointment to not beat Italy at home this day. Now it's years back and still I think about it sometimes, what I could have done in another way. But it's sport, sometimes you have to lose. This is maybe the biggest fight I've ever participated in, and a fight I will never forget.